once again, and welcome to yet another Lazor Beams EX. Tonight we have me, Breakman, same as always, and my cohort and partner in crime, Flashman.
Hi, all.
And we have two guest speakers tonight. We have the return of the legendary StenMan.
Yeah, that would be me.
And a newcomer to EX, MegaMatt.
Bet you totally didn't see this one coming.
Not at all. So, this is going to be... We've never had this many people on ELB before, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes, but please bear with us.
And that having been said, I think we're ready to get this one off to a start. Tonight's topic is our favorite non-Rockman video games. We've selected two each from our collections and personal experience, and we'll talk a few minutes about each game going in cyclical order. And so that having been said, I think since this column was originally Breakman's idea, I think it's only fair that Breakman go first and show us how it's done.
Show us how it's done?
Yeah.
Yeah!
Let's see how he functions under pressure.
Well, I was on the radio before with a hockey game.
Yeah, but you don't have an audience of four people listening to this time. For Rizzle.
Can we restart this whole thing?
I'm feeling kind of guilty now.
No.
No, this is going in the final draft. Keep going.
Customer's revenge.
Alright, that obligation fulfilled 112%.
High five, everybody. We rock.
Woo!
Audio high five.
Yeah. Ow!
So, Breakman, why don't you go ahead and show us how it's done?
Show us how it's done. I'm just feeling oddly nostalgic.
Let's see how he functions under pressure.
We already did
No,
that.
no, we're not doing this again. We already did this. We already crashed this ship into the iceberg. Okay, at any rate, games I like to play besides Mega Man games. Well, seeing as how the Mega Man and Rockman games are few and far between as far as quality goes, yeah, you definitely gotta take up a chunk of your time doing something else. So naturally you want to plug something else in and let your brain melt to that. I play a lot of different types of games, so it's kind of hard to choose just a couple. So I think what I'm going to have to say here is... I'm just going to take the cheap road out and say that when I'm not playing Mega Man, a series that I really love to play is... I'm going to encompass both of these series into it because they're basically the same thing made by the same people.
And I'm totally not stalling for time here.
Actually, I'm not. I'm just rambling.
Okay.
There is a difference. This and that are different.
I'm your opponent.
Exactly. At any rate, what I like to play on my Mega Man time off is either a round of Guitar Hero 2 or a four-way experience on Rock Band, which is like the greatest party game ever. Why do I like these games? I know some people just can't get into them just because of the idea that you're dancing around in front of your TV with like a Fisher-Price guitar. Seriously. A lot of people just obviously don't get it. That it's not about comparing yourself to an actual rock star or anything like that. It's honestly, who doesn't love music? And who doesn't love video games? Put them together and it's almost a match made in heaven. That's where the fun of Guitar Hero 2 comes in. And that game is just honestly, genuinely fun. Now, Rock Band, on the other hand, takes that and just multiplies it exponentially. Because you've got one person with a fake plastic guitar pretending to be a lead guitarist, one person pretending to be a plastic bassist, you've got a plastic drummer, and the only person with a real instrument is whoever managed to get pulled the short straw and ended up on vocals because they have a real microphone. But honestly, the whole thing is just so immersive, and they pick like the greatest, most fun songs to go on these things. I mean, it's just really a whole lot of fun. I could just ooze forever about just how much crazy fun it is whether or not you're like an expert or just getting started, it's just something about, I think there's like a rock star inside each and every one of us, to sound totally cheesy for a second, but honestly, it's just a great deal of fun, and I couldn't imagine having a game system and not having a good rhythm game to play with it.
Wow.
Does anyone else here play Guitar Hero or Rock Band, or just me?
I do. One of the best things about Rock Band, in my opinion, is the character customization.
Oh, yes!
I've got a character that looks like Blue Man Group Reject. I've got a character that looks like classic Proto Man.
Sweet, how'd you pull that off?
The Dr. What jacket and the pants, I think, are the pleather pants, turned red. Because the Dr. What jacket has the scarf, and if you choose secondary color yellow, you get the yellow scarf.
I hadn't thought about that.
And then you can buy sunglasses in the shop. And if you really want to go for it, you can do face paint too, I suppose. But that's beside the point.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but the audio clip of the Smashing Pumpkins song Cherub Rock that you're about to enjoy has been removed due to a copyright claim by EMI. Since we would never ever dream of angering the always correct and infinitely wise recording industry, please instead enjoy this recording of Brakeman singing I'm Borak from the Mega Man X Command Mission soundtrack. Have a great day!
Alright, Break. Why don't we go ahead and let MegaMatt go next?
I am 100% fine with that.
Alright. One of my favorite games, it's an oldie but a goodie. I picked it up at GameStop a few years back, really cheap. Best value for money ever. The game I'm talking about is, I believe it was advertised as 6 games in one, and normally that's not a good sign, but this game breaks the mold in all sorts of ways. I'm talking about the Super Nintendo classic, Kirby Superstar.
Oh, wow. There's a name I haven't heard in years.
Wow.
Me too.
From Spring Breeze to Revenge of Meta Knight to any of the game's many worlds and different game mechanics, it's just all around awesome. You've got Spring Breeze, which is a remake of the old Kirby Adventure. You've got Dynablade, which is more or less a tutorial. It's not that difficult. And then you've got the extremely linear Revenge of Meta Knight, the more plot-driven one, if you can call a Kirby game plot-driven. You've got the extremely non-linear Milky Way Wishes, where you don't even have to grab an enemy to copy its ability. You just grab it once, and then you can choose it from the pause screen, which is really nice.
Oh, that's interesting. That's like Weapon Get on crack.
It really is. And if you really want Weapon Get, there's a secret star in the attack power, which is more or less like a souped-up version of Kirby's standard inhale ability.
Wow.
There's also one of my favorites, the Great Cave Offensive, which, if you've ever played Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, this game is going to be very familiar to you because it's like a smaller version of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, which, while still a good game, it just can't compare to the feeling of going up against Heavy Lobster or Marks. Kirby Superstar is, in my opinion, the definition of awesome 2D platforming that's not a Mega Man game.
You
Did I get disconnected?
No, you didn't. You understand while you're saying this, I'm looking at my Jigglypuff action figure on my shelf and I'm thinking, this seems really strange. That it doesn't help either that to its right is Chansey and to its left is Cleffa. I have all of my pink Pokemon on the same shelf.
That's creepy.
That is
power.
creepy. Yeah, I'm kind of like, I need a Kirby
Real
doll.
men wear pink.
Real men.
Real men wear kilts.
Alrighty, well, Break's gone, MegaMatt's gone. Go ahead, baton pass to Sten, and I will go last. I'm sorry, Sten. Baton pass to Sten.
No comment.
Go ahead, StenMan. We love you.
We love you too. Well, I'm a fan of series games, Rockman, Mega Man being my favorite, obviously, but I've always been a fan of Super Mario and Legend of Zelda, which leads to the old Game Boy, the old cream spinach and black oil color. Link's Awakening is one of my all-time favorite games.
Oh, wow.
Funny you should mention that. I was actually considering that for one of the positions on my list.
You know, I used to own this game when I had my old Game Boy, but I actually sold it, and now I am hating myself every day because I did, because The Legend of Zelda has a good storyline behind it. This one was actually part of the canon. It didn't involve the Triforce, didn't have Ganon, didn't have Zelda, but it just had Link waking up on this weird island, and I just thought this one had a really good storyline. It was a lot of fun to play too.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, this was actually developed by Capcom under license from Nintendo, right?
I don't know if that was Link's Awakening, but I do know Oracle of Ages and Seasons. Those were done by Capcom, and I think those were the first ones.
I don't think Link's Awakening was Capcom, but it was a really great game. It came right after A Link to the Past from the Super Nintendo.
If I had to pick a favorite Zelda game, that would be mine, but I digress.
I haven't played any of the Zelda games, so I'm not really that knowledgeable about the series overall. But the one thing I can definitely agree with StenMan on is franchise gaming all the way. I mean, if you can get a game and...
Oh, by far.
Yeah, I love franchise games because, you know, you have a good game that's successful and there's a sequel for it, which means that the chance of basically getting to relive the magic is exponentially increased rather than hoping for, you know, one-off games like, oh wow, this game is made by a totally different company, but it plays just like this one game I played years ago, and it's really fun. I don't have to have a new experience every single video game I play. I mean, I hate to sound like an elitist here, but I actually do like... I do like playing the same thing sometimes. So yeah, franchise gaming for the win, Stun.
Indeed, and quest games too, and this one doesn't have, like I know I've been talking about, a different kind of quest game that has a whole bunch of differences, but this one, it basically sticks to a basic plot. You're trying to get off the island by waking the windfish. My only complaint is, why can't you just cut down a few trees, build your own boat, and sail off? And leave the windfish
I
alone?
always wondered about that. Like, how did Link get to this island in the first place? Well, it's kind of obvious. He's on a boat, and he gets hit by a bolt of lightning.
Guys,
The
And
boat shatters, he falls asleep, Marion finds him, wakes him up. Yeah, and then they always say, the owl, hoot, hoot, you must
I hate that owl.
take this windfish in
Guys.
order to leave this island.
Guys,
The monsters are getting so mad. What?
I am going to tell you exactly why Link can't get off the island. Because all of the trees are palm trees. He's on Gilligan's Island. That's why he can't get off.
crap.
I thought
It
it
was only
because
supposed to
he
be
had
a
a crush
3-hour
on Mary.
cruise.
It was
You
only-
know, if you remember playing Link's Awakening, do you remember the level known as Angler's Tunnel? It was level 4 in the
yes.
Telltale Mountains. Do you remember that scenario? Didn't he
I remember
obtain
that.
an item? What's that?
I remember that.
Yeah, he obtained an item known as flippers. He could have taken them easily and swum off.
Well, I don't think... I think as awesome as Link is, I don't think he could have made it that far, but that might just be
Food
me.
much?
Yeah, you know, with flippers and stuff. I mean, that's kind of like saying, well, Sonic got the speed boots in, a Sonic game, so why doesn't that mean that, why can't he just run all the way directly to the end boss in 3 seconds? I mean, why does he need to fight through the rest of the levels? Why doesn't he just move in a straight line? But then
exactly, you wouldn't have a game at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, let's just go ahead and say a wizard did it and move on.
Blame it on the the game mechanics, which in any Nintendo title are known by the names Mario and Luigi.
It's like, why can't Dr. Light just teleport me to the boss? Because it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't.
Oh, there's a teleport block shield, and yeah, walk, lazy robot.
Now be a good little Asimov robot and do as you're told. Do you want to end up like your dog there?
Exactly.
I say a lot of things. Alright, moving on. Well, it seems like everybody's gone.
Go for it, Flash. What do you got on your plate?
Well, as the first of my 2 games, I'm going to go ahead and throw a sort of recent title out here, and I don't think anybody, maybe Breakman, but probably not, I don't think anybody's going to have seen me coming on this one. It's kind of popular, it's done by Capcom, and if what my information tells me is accurate, it's coming up on a possible 5th and maybe even 6th game in its series, in typical Capcom tradition.
Resident Evil?
Gyakuten Saiban, also known as Ace Attorney. I am a huge fan of Ace Attorney. I honestly got hooked on this pretty much purely by accident. I went into GameStop, bought the game, thought, I'll give it a shot. It looks kind of different, and I've been playing them through in order. I gotta say, it makes me sad because as much effort as was put into the dialogue of Ace Attorney in terms of translation, I really wish we had gotten to see some of that in the later Battle Network games, because the dialogue in Ace Attorney is choice. I mean, I don't know any other word to define it. It's funny, it's witty, the stories and cases are well written, the characters are amazingly animated, the sprite work is awesome, the soundtrack is awesome. I mean, the game keeps you guessing, and I was thinking, oh, for a simple little text-based courtroom game, I can beat this in a day. No, you can't. You cannot. The game is a lot longer than it leaves you thinking it is. It's a good buy for your money, which I find strange, because I thought a game like this, if you had a walkthrough, you could beat the entire game in a couple of hours, but you can't. I am thoroughly fascinated, even using a walkthrough, which I refuse to do. I want to figure everything out on my own. I mean, even if you did have a walkthrough, it would still take you probably several hours of solid play just to get through one game, not to mention all of them in the series. So yeah, I really like Ace Attorney. I'm really happy with it. It's a good buy for your money, and I highly recommend it. Definitely.
Objection!
Hold it!
Do.
And one more for Jenny
I
and the Wimp.
I want to make a comment on what you just said, Flash, if I may do so.
You may, go ahead.
You were saying on how good the translation was, blah blah blah, and how detailed the animation were. I agree with you, not just from I've seen nitpicks from the game and all the numerous YouTube parodies. Boot to the Head is probably the most famous one. But yes, sprite-wise, they are very well detailed, and I gotta say, I am very impressed with Ace Attorney and with the way they did that. Very well detailed, and that's what made Ace Attorney a good investment.
It is a good investment. I can't recommend it enough. The character detail harkens back to the days when Capcom was a symbol of quality, and it's like, it honestly reminds me of like seeing Ace Attorney reminds me of Rockman X4. It has that kind of feel. Like, you pick it up and you play
That's
it, and
a good
you're like,
point, yeah.
yeah,
That's definitely a good point.
You pick it up and you're like, wow, the sprite work is sharp. I mean, the character sprites, the animations, the faces, they're so expressive. They look so detailed. Yeah, Ace Attorney, I love it. I gotta plug it.
I'd like to raise an objection, if I may.
Go ahead.
I agree, the sprites in this game are amazing. The translation is stellar, but I find that in the courtroom sections, maybe I'm just stupid or something, but in a few cases, there seem to be a few jumps of logic that seem a bit too far. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but in my experience, there have been a few that have been a little tricky to figure out without a little external help.
True, I will give
Then again,
I will give you
I'm
that.
probably just stupid.
There have been a few very difficult jumps of logic in the game. I personally think that's one of the good things about it, because while you might see that as a glitch, I see it as a benefit, and the reason I say that is if they handed you the entire case on a silver platter and made everything obvious, like, oh, this evidence has been highlighted, you know, this is the one you need to submit now, then you would be sitting there thinking, I feel like I'm playing a movie. Like I'm hitting the chapter skip button at every interval, and Phoenix Wright isn't a choose-your-own-adventure. It's a game that requires you to use your head to figure it out. I haven't been presented with a situation where I've had to just completely... I will grant you that you honestly feel like you're guessing at a lot of points in the game. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm down to basically my last... In the first game, you know, you're down to your last life, so to speak, because you basically get 5 screw-ups in a court, and you're sitting there court case, and you're thinking, oh wow, I'm down to my last exclamation mark. I've got to make this one count. There have been a lot of spots where you basically had to take a sort of step in faith, but every single, like you said, you called them leaps of logic. Every single one of those I've encountered, at least to me, made sense. But that might be just because I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt, but overall I would still highly recommend the game, regardless of, you know, any potential glitches in the storyline. I still think it's a great series, and it's definitely a keeper. At the very least, rent them to see if you like them, but if you buy them, they're not the kind of games that you get rid of immediately, because, you know, you're sitting there thinking, well, okay, I've cleared the game, now I'm never, ever, ever, ever going to play this again. There is some replayability to it, which I find highly surprising. And that having been said, I think we've become right about to the point where we can go full circle back to Breakman.
Okay, originally I was going to... It's interesting that I mentioned it before it's time. I was going to talk about the Resident Evil series before, but I've actually decided to do something completely different, and it's kind of a cop-out just because it's so cliche, but I'd have to say that one of my all-time favorite games ever, and honestly, it's probably this game's fault that I am the big turbo dork that I am today, Final Fantasy VII. As cliche as it sounds, that's one of my favorite games ever.
Final Fantasy rules.
I'm sorry, I'll be right with you guys. I'm just looking for the disown button on my keyboard.
No, like, I don't know, it's like, you have, you know, you grow up playing role-playing games. If you're one of those guys that grew up and you're like, oh, the Final Fantasy 3 for Super Nintendo, so awesome. Of course, because it wasn't called 6 at first. But honestly, like, the jump between 6 and... There was so much time between the release of FF6 and FF7 that basically FF7 just had all that time to garner hype for what it was going to be. And at the time, you know, the PS1 just came out. I mean, it's technology hadn't really been pushed to the limits yet, and at the time, FF7 seemed to be the game that was promising to do that.
I mean, on the box it says quite possibly the best game ever, so it must.
I think a lot of people would definitely lend credence to that. I mean, as far as the Final Fantasy games go, it and probably FF6 are arguably the most popular in the entire series, and for a reason. They are both stellar games. But I don't know, FF6 was fun. It just, at the time, it didn't grab me like FF7 did, and I'm sure part of that had to do with the fact that, you know, you're seeing the characters in 3D for the first time. You know, albeit it's kind of cheap, blocky Lego Man 3D, but it definitely did its job, and at the time, the FMVs were so impressive. I mean, the game was a visual delight. Music just blew me out of the water. I loved the music, but really the thing that grabbed me most about it was the story. I mean, I loved the whole, you know, sort of, to go back to a term Flash used in a previous column, schizotech. I mean, the city you start out in, Midgar, is like completely technologically boom, up and coming, and then the entire world outside is, I mean, for crap's sake, you've still got people riding chocobos as opposed to cars.
Spoilers.
Oh my God, there's chocobos in the Final Fantasy game. Oh, sorry, I ruined it for you. I'm sorry, man.
There's Pikachus in this Pokemon game. Well, great. Now I don't want to play it.
May as well not even pick it up now. You ruined it for me. I don't know, just the way the world was presented, just that sort of schizotech, as Flash would call it, and just the character interactions and the characters themselves. I mean, there's so much about that game that I really just fell completely in love with. And now with Crisis Core just released on the PSP, it's just amplifying the nostalgia all over again. It's like a retelling of the side of the story you didn't get to see in the original. And honestly, with the way that Square Enix has been remaking and re-releasing the Final Fantasy games, I mean, they're working on number 5 right now, and 6 is already in the works. I'm going to continue to hold out hope for that PS3 FF7 remake. Please, 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 please. I'll buy it. I'll camp out for a week to get it. Release it now, please.
It's kind of like how a lot of Pokemon fans, and maybe I'm just being me here, but a lot of Pokemon fans agree that the Gold and Silver and Crystal, in essence, second-gen Pokemon, is more or less, it's definitely one of the most beloved games in the series, and that's why a lot of fans are holding out hope that Gold, Silver, and Crystal will be remade into, like, basically...
Me included.
Yeah, me included. I have to say, I agree. I would really like to see GSC remade, because they are some of the... Honestly, they're timeless. I mean, I will play them even now, even though there's practically no point in playing any of the pre-Game Boy Advance Pokemon games, because there's virtually no compatibility with anything post-Game Boy Color.
Sad.
even still, I will play Gold and Silver and Crystal just because they're good games. And they've got beautiful art. I mean, some of the best sprites in the series. And so, yeah, I can definitely understand why you would want to see a remake of Final Fantasy VII, because it's timeless. It needs it. It definitely needs that BAM update that makes so many series so good. That's why I really wonder, and maybe I'm getting off topic here, but that's why I really wonder why they chose to remake Rockman 1 for Rockman. I mean, nothing against...
Well, we said
because
before...
it's the Rockman game.
I mean, yeah, it's the first, but wouldn't Rockman 2 have been a better remake?
Well, yeah, but you also got to think of it this way. I mean, who wants to play the original Mega Man 1? Nobody wants to play the original Mega Man 1 because it's not fun enough to play again. I mean, Mega Man 2, people will go out of their way to find copies on eBay and go out of their way to buy NESs off of eBay so they can play Mega Man 2 again, or they can just be cheap asses and download it. But still, the point remains that people will play Mega Man 2 in its original glory because it's just, as we said, that complete, sucker punch of nostalgia. But Mega Man 1 doesn't really have that, so I think that them remaking Mega Man 1 for the PSP was really the best way they could have gone about it. I mean, I would have loved to have Powered Up 2, but, didn't happen. Oh well, I'm sad.
Not yet, anyways.
Not yet. Let's hold out hope.
Well, the sales are picking up like crazy in Japan, so I don't know, maybe.
When it comes to Rockman, let's just hope they don't murder the game if they do remake it, because, hey, Mega Man 2 is probably one of the best of all time, so...
I'm actually kind of wondering what I would look like with a gigantic head, and all of a sudden I'm beginning to regret my comment.
On the old Atomic Fire, if you go to Atomic Fire, look at their link, there is someone who drew a powered up version, Flashman and Quickman, so...
Yeah, Age Man,
Have a look yourself.
I've seen a lot of his art before, and he's quite the talented artist, so anyway. Alrighty, MegaMatt, I think it's your turn.
Alright, well, this is a game that I doubt many of you have heard of, and probably even fewer of you have played, except Vast. He mentioned that he'd played it. This game, in keeping with the theme of a lot of games I like, is very futuristic, obviously not keeping with Kirby Superstar. It's a game for PC. It was made by a relatively unknown developer, and it is just... Every time I think I've broken my addiction, somebody mentions it, and I relapse. I'm talking about Uplink.
Uplink?
Now, for those of you... Uplink.
Huh.
Now, for those of you who don't know, this game is a hack game. It has almost no graphics. This game is basically like a game portrayal of Hollywood-style hacking. In fact, you can even have an upgrade for your HUD that shows the little red line that how close they are to you, and it makes the appropriate beeping noises.
Wow.
But
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it came out I think 2 years ago. But the interesting thing is that although the developers have abandoned the game, basically, the fan community is still making mods for it 2 years later. In fact, there's a gigantic mod called OnLink going on. I don't know the web address, but you could probably just Google for it. And it's supposed to be just a massive overhaul of the entire game engine. I've played the beta of it, and it is amazing. They added in all this stuff that the developers mentioned got cut from development, a worldwide medical database, a worldwide FBI database.
Wow.
Yeah, but the game basically focuses around, you start off joining this corporation called the Uplink Corporation, and you become a hacker. And you start off with a few programs. You've got your password cracker, you've got your trace tracker, and you've got your file copier and file deleter. And you start taking on simple jobs. Hack into this computer, delete or copy this file, send it back to me if I asked for it copied, and you get money. And then, as you proceed up in the game, you start hacking banks. And yes, you can actually hack banks and transfer like 10,000 credits to yourself, something that's really fun but really hard to do. And there's actually a plot line to this game, but you don't even have to participate at all. You can just sit back and watch the groups fight it out back and forth. And I don't want to spoil too much about it. It's not that great a plot line, but it's there, and that's really enough. What it basically centers around is this group trying to make basically the best computer virus ever made. And you can choose to side with them and help spread the virus, or you can choose to side with the other side and stop the virus while it's still in development. It's a really awesome game, and what's amazing about it is that you can actually buy the source code from the creators and start messing around with it.
Oh, wow. So they totally support the fan brew community?
Oh, yeah. In fact, you don't even need the source code to do a lot of modifications. You can make your own custom gateways, which are basically computers. Mm-hmm. You can make your own custom gateways, and if you're more cheating inclined, you can make these awesome gateways and make them sell for 0 credits, or better yet, negative credits. And yes, I actually once made a gateway that sold for negative 100,000 credits, and yes, you do get money when you buy it.
Wow.
This sounds like a really,
yes.
This sounds like a really phenomenal and innovative game. I mean, I've always
It does.
maybe the compu geek in me is making me say this. I don't know. Maybe it's the work of Haruhi or something. Maybe she's like sitting off, dreaming somewhere in Japan, unwillingly thinking, I'm going to have my random puppet SOS Brigade Extension branch member in Texas do something funny right now. And then I'm going to punch Khan in the nuts. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I'm sitting here thinking to myself, this really reminds me of a lot of the old good geek movies like The Net, back when we were really fascinated by the thought of a movie that had a computer in it. How cool is that? Look, it has a graphic. This is so advanced. I mean...
Well, the graphics in Uplink are almost non-existent. It's primarily a text-based game. I mean, the only significant graphics are the menu system and the world map, where you see where you've bounced your signal.
That makes perfect sense, though. I mean, you're not operating with... Yeah, precisely. You don't need a ridiculously flashy GUI in order to do the stuff that people do on a day-to-day basis without it.
But the best part,
really fun.
The best part about Uplink is the metagame. Because by the metagame, you've gotten everything. But there's still more. There are these local area networks that you can hack into, and what they basically are is they're the dungeons. You've got you've got to hack through this local area network system of computers and locks and keys and all this stuff, and you've got to log into the right computers so that you have the right subnet mask so that you can unlock other computers to finally get to the main server and do whatever you need to do.
Whoa. That's ridiculous.
I am suitably
My favorite
impressed. I really am. I think MegaMatt wins the award right now, unless Sten or I can pull something out of our hat. I think MegaMatt wins.
Congratulations. I will now award you 5,000 internets.
Good work.
I already have the only one I need. The best part about the game, though, in my opinion, is that you can get the virus. And you can run it on computers.
Wow.
What? Whoa.
Yeah.
Like an actual virus?
Well, not like it's going to crash your real computer virus.
Oh, okay, thank you.
But
I
actually,
don't want to play this anymore.
you can run the virus on your gateway, but it's basically a suicide pill.
That makes
So why
sense.
you'd want to do it is, well, actually, I think it's a suicide pill in the sense that it destroys your gateway, and you can. Don't hold me to this, but I think if you run the virus on your computer, that they give you basically the starting gateway, and you can rebuild yourself. I'm not sure though because I restarted my file recently.
I really think this sounds cool. This reminds me of so many early 90s and really, early to mid 90s, like you said, Hollywood style, what Hollywood's interpretation of computers was, i.e. monitor equals computer, shoot monitor, and computer is destroyed forever style of filmography. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like when the entire world ran on AOL. That's what this really reminds me of. Good times. Old memories, like, oh man, does anybody remember dial-up? It's like we're all on DSL now, and I don't know.
I remember dial-up. I think I haven't even gone a full year with high speed yet.
Oh,
I think I'm at 6 months with high speed. Believe me, I remember dial-up.
Oh man.
Welcome.
In fact,
10 minutes later, you've got mail.
Only
In
now
fact, I didn't actually get to listen to the first Lazor Beams EXs until just a few months ago because I couldn't download them because my connection was so slow.
Oh, wow.
Well, now we need now we know we need to do something about that. Dang.
I didn't know what I was missing.
I remember.
Welcome to the party.
I remember when
I've rambled on long enough, I suppose.
I remember when we thought 56K was... I mean, we were talking like, you had 56K, you had a bottle of greased lightning strapped to your computer, you could fly across the cyber waves with your... We didn't have dogs then. Well, we did. We stood on top of them. They weren't mounted to our wrists. And we were awesome!
Oh my god.
Or tubular, or whatever term we used in the 90s to say how cool we were.
I want to hurt you so much right now.
It's kind of like why 24 couldn't take place in the year 1994, because 3 floppy disks worth of information was a lot.
Oh, man.
Very interesting. I think after we're done this, I might actually go and look it up and try and figure it out for myself.
Yeah.
Just Google it. I think it's by Introversion Software, and I think it's the first Google result.
I'm gonna go see if I can find a copy of it too. That sounds really fun. Wow.
Well, you can actually you can actually order it right off their website.
Cool.
Oh yeah, it's like $20 or so,
Cool. Yeah, I think I'll go for it.
and it runs on everything: Windows, Mac, Linux. If it doesn't run on it, there's a patch to run it somewhere.
Alrighty. Well, I think it's your turn, Sten. Go ahead.
Well, like I said earlier, I'm a fan of franchise games, so moving on to one of the biggest franchises in all of VG history, Super Mario.
Ah!
This is gonna be interesting.
But which game? Which game? Well, this is one of my all-time favorites, and it's another Game Boy game, one that I'm still kicking myself as hard as I can because I got rid of this one.
Mario
one
World
of the best, Mario Land 2, the 6 Golden Coins was one of my all-time favorite games.
Nice!
Now, when you said which game, I'm sorry, it took all of my video gaming honor to keep from blurting out the good one. I mean, because this is Mario.
There was a lot of... I was actually torn on which Mario game I really want to do. Did I want to say Super Mario Bros. 3,
Hell
Super
yeah.
Mario 64 or Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins. I was actually a real toss-up between those three, but I think Mario, despite 64 is one of the best games in history, but
It's also
the
one of
6
most
golden coins was
overhyped.
great.
No offense to anybody who likes
Yeah.
Mario 64, but I think Mario 64 is also the most overhyped Mario game.
I think Mario 3 is the best.
I'm in-
That's me.
I agree.
I'm in complete
Yeah,
agreement with you, Flash.
I mean, Mario 64
Flash.
is good. It's really good. Don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't go as far as to say it's the best. It's a good game. But yeah. So anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Sten. I cut you off.
Yeah, Super Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins. The original Super Mario Land game, where he's fighting that whatever he is with those little fire pellets, that was a decent game, but I'm sorry that was a waste. The follow-up sequel blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. This also introduced his little rival, Wario.
Uh-huh.
He is stealing his castle while he's gone. And, I always wondered something. This was right from the very start. Since when did Mario have a castle?
That is a good point. I never thought about that.
I never remember a reference from the original games. Do you?
Maybe Peach gave
Maybe
him
it's
one.
Princess Peach's castle.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Peach gave him one. Well, for that matter, I mean, if anybody that's ever played Wario World, when did Wario get a castle? And
I would assume that he just kind of, occupied it when the owners were out, shopping.
and for that matter, he's
Which
got
is pretty much what he did.
Yeah,
Maybe Mario took it from Bowser or Wily.
Bowser, I could see. Wily?
I don't think if there wasn't a giant skull on the front, or I don't think so.
Well, not after
no.
the remodeling, no.
Right.
I mean, you couldn't expect a hero to leave a giant skull on his castle, could you?
There are giant. I am visualizing a castle with giant W's everywhere, with spray paint over the Doctor and Wario walking down the hall, shuffling, sort of
Predictable. So predictable.
covertly. Alrighty.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sten.
Yeah, Wario takes over Mario's apparent castle that he's had since he was in Donkey Kong. And
What are you talking about? That's always been there.
It was in
Yeah,
my
really.
family for generations and generations. My grandfather passed this castle on to me along with
what are you doing with my spaghetti there, Luigi?
He passed this castle on to me with 12 matchstick.
What are you talking about? There's never been a school in AC/DC.
Boom, boom.
I'm sorry, Stan. We're horrible. Go ahead. I promise this is last time.
I'll remember you said that. Anyway, in order to get into this little castle, you got to get 6 golden coins, which are hidden all throughout the numerous levels. There was one that was a giant tree. There was the space land, the one that makes you about where the ants are bigger than you in the little small zone, the Halloween level, the underwater level, and even the giant Clockwork Mario, if you remember that. Yeah. This game was just a lot of fun. It reminded me a lot of Mario 3. The gold coin, the 6 gold coin idea is not just, I gotta collect all the coins, Yeah, this one, making it part of the actual storyline was a nice twist. It had some good abilities. The final level was great. No just fighting an evil dinosaur, but fighting almost a mirror match.
That would be interesting. I never made it all the way to the end. I don't know. For some reason, I just put it down. No, you know what? I know what it was. That was around the same. I think at that point I was getting into the 16-bit era, and I was playing Mega Man games.
Yeah, no dripping clocks in this level like in certain other Game Boy versions of certain popular franchises.
I think I'm choking on a master weapon. Oh man, those metal plates can really tear up your throat. Ugh. I'm sorry, where were we?
Yeah, just overall, this was a great game. Like I said, I had to really, really think about which Mario game I wanted to use. As like I said, I'm a big franchise fan, but yeah, I think this one barely tops out 64. And the original Mario 3, but yeah, this one had a great storyline, a good plot, good gameplay. Weird bosses at the end of each levels, though. I mean, I remember in the tree level it was a giant raven. The Mario Zone was the three piglets. But at the very end, good final boss. It was a little disappointing as he was easy as hell, but yeah, overall it was a really great game.
I can have speak now.
Okay, Flash, fine. You can have the speak words.
Yay!
You can have the conch shell, Flash.
Yes. What's your second favorite game?
All right.
I have a suspicion, but you may as well be out with it.
Custer's Revenge.
Okay,
No.
Where's the break? How do we boot Sten from the conversation again?
That's
there.
Hold on. Do I press the red button? Is that what I do?
I think so. Boop, bloop.
I'll do it.
Boot to the head.
And one more boot.
As long-
one more boot.
As
to
long
the
as you
Sten.
stop mentioning that damn worthless POS, I won't press it.
Boot to the head.
And another boot to the Sten. All right, seriously. Yeah, this column.
And another for Stenny and the Wimp.
Oh, you are so getting that gloating picture now, Breakman.
This column is going
You
to
got
need.
verbally owned.
This column is going to need major editing.
Oh, this will be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well then, I think this is the last game, huh? Since I went last first time, so I'm going last second time. Wow. Well, I'd like to end the column on a good note. I would be dishonoring my heritage if I didn't mention a game by this company, since this is where I got my start in gaming. So, I think that Breakman won't have seen this coming, but he might have, he might not have. It is a sort of extension of what is probably my favorite video game of all time, and it's one I hold very dear. I would have to say, for my second game, one of my... I'm just going to go ahead and be out with it. This is my favorite entry into my favorite series. I'm going to have to recommend Sonic Jam for the Sega Saturn.
Yes!
As a form of
You
slight...
can't see it, but I'm throwing the horns.
I'm throwing the horns too. It's a good time for all. Every
Yes.
day is jolly good with Sega. Sonic Jam, and the reason I said that, I wanted to say Sonic 3 and Knuckles, because Sonic 3 and Knuckles is, as far as I am concerned, the Super Metroid of the Sonic franchise. It's the magnum...
Dang right.
It's the magnum opus that, as of yet, has been unparalleled. But not to say I don't hold out hope. Oh, believe me, I am hoping for a Sonic game that surpasses even Sonic 3 and Knuckles. But as far as I am concerned, right now, that is the definitive... You say Sonic, I say Sonic 3 and Knuckles. That is the definitive game. That is the definitive entry into the series. Sonic...
Interesting factoid / interruption. Sonic 3, the actual cartridge, was actually released unfinished. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is what Sonic 3 was supposed to be.
Exactly.
Yes.
It used to be a really little known thing, but like if you go to the debug menu that still exists in Sonic 3, you can actually see entries for like Mushroom Hill and Flying Battery. It's still in there. It doesn't take you to those stages because they were obviously removed, just because it wasn't finished. But yes, they were originally supposed to be one game, and that's why it's the best.
I think MegaMatt forgot who he was speaking to. But seriously, my Sonic fanboyishness aside, yeah.
Well, sure, you know it, but do you think our listeners know it?
Did you think I wasn't going to mention that fact?
All right, point taken.
I'm wearing my
I'll
Sonic.
attempt to.
I'm wearing my Sonic Elitist hat now. Now you've got me talking in the snarky voice. I'm sniffing the cartridge. Is that 1994 I smell?
1994?
Savoring the fine bouquet of Mega Drive. Seriously, jokes aside, yes, as MegaMatt beat me to the finish on, Sonic 3 and Knuckles is the complete version and essentially should just be called Sonic 3. But because of Sega's lock-on technology, I love their marketing. They could turn a glitch into a feature. Only Sega and Microsoft have ever been able to do that.
Ooh,
There we go.
I mean, Sega, kings of marketing that they were, but yes, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and we were sitting there thinking, oh man, it makes Sonic 3 even better, when in actuality, Sonic 3 and Knuckles is Sonic 3. But all that aside, you know, the reason we didn't get a Sonic 1 and Knuckles is because of the obvious Knuckles gliding over conveyor belts thing that was mentioned before. But
Actually, I thought it was palette issues.
actually,
Because since the palette uses so many blues that it would turn, like, for example, Green Hill Zone into Green and Red Hill Zone.
That and just the fact that the technology is that much different. I mean, there's been, what, like 3 different game engines for the Sega version, for the
not only that,
Genesis Sonic games?
Not only that, Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles both run off of a slightly modified version of Sonic 2's engine.
Yeah,
as-
that's what I meant.
As evidenced by the fact that you can access the Sonic 3 level select by using Sonic 2's level select in the system. But I digress. Sonic Jam, the reason it is my favorite entry into the Sonic series, has a lot of reasons behind it, but because of time and length of this column, I won't go into all of them, and instead we'll just choose to gloss over the most important ones. For starters, it was the first, as far as I'm concerned anyway, the first relevant Sonic compilation we got. Granted, we had Sonic Classics beforehand, but Sonic Jam, I think pretty much anybody will agree with me. I think we would all agree that we would rather have Sonic 3 and Sonic Knuckles on the cartridge than Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine.
Damn straight.
Not that Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine isn't a fun game. I'm not going to say it isn't, but, I mean, come on, it's Sonic 3 and Knuckles. It's kind of like... that's really,
No-brainer.
yeah, it's really hard to top. Sonic Jam has... It gave us so many awesome features. Besides the fact you had Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Sonic and Knuckles, you had the ability to lock on Sonic 2 and Sonic 3, just as if you were playing on the Genesis. And those games had new time attack modes, which added amazing replayability. It also had the ability to change the difficulty level, so if you wanted to play a Sonic game, but you really didn't want to sit down and run through the whole thing just to get to the ending, you could play it on the easy difficulty level, which would skip acts and bosses and that sort of thing, and give you sort of like a Sonic Light. It basically, you got to run through the game with, you know, if you just like had 15 minutes you wanted to spend to see how far you could get, or if you wanted to let like one of your younger siblings or a friend who was not really experienced with the series play the games, you had the difficulty settings, you had the ability to use the spin dash in Sonic 1, which, I mean...
That was awesome. That was
so
great.
great. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I dislike Sonic 1, is because of the lack of the spin dash, and because now that you have it, wow, okay, all of a sudden, you can do things in that game. I mean, you don't have to like build up to top running speed just to get through, you know, just to get up a wall or something. You can just, drop the spin dash and bam, it makes the game so much more playable. But besides the fact that it...
And you don't have to play it on the Game Boy Advance.
Oh, no joke.
Oh, we won't even go into that. Let's forget that port was even made.
Yeah, that 404 port not found. But anyway, jokes aside, Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, you had basically the 4 canon Sonic games up to that point, and as far as I'm concerned, they're still basically the Sonic main series. And then, of course, you had Sonic World, oh man, there you go. You want to talk about awesome bonus features?
Sonic World has it in spades.
Sonic World has it in spades. It released to us... I mean, all kinds of stuff that prior to the game's release it released things that American fans probably never would have seen. ever in the Sonic series. We got official art galore, character sketches, concept designs, color palettes, biographies. I mean, we got all kinds of cool stuff, drawings, details of the badniks. We got the English and Japanese manuals for the game, which I always thought was really cool. I mean, we got the movie theater. The movie theater.
Oh, that was such win.
You could go and watch the commercials for the old Sonic games. You could go and see all kinds of, nifty things like the Sonic anime, which prior to Sonic X was all of animated Sonic in Japanese. I mean, it was either that or the goofy American cartoon and Sad-Am. You didn't have Sonic Underground. You didn't have anything else.
Which Sonic cartoon are you referring to?
I am referring to the one shown on Sonic Jam, as I am referring to the Sonic OVA. But the Sonic cartoon I'm talking about, as far as the American ones go, are the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, which is the quote-unquote goofy one, or Sad-Am, which is the serious one, and even by today's standards, you could theoretically say both of them are goofy, but Sad-Am is the fan favorite.
There was one that was decent that I saw over here when I was a lot younger. One was really goofy. The one was at least decent, at least seemed like it followed the games and an idea, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, you're probably referencing Sad-Am, because I can't possibly imagine you referencing Sonic Underground, and Sonic X wouldn't have been around during that time, so...
You said we didn't have Sonic Underground like it was a bad thing.
No, I'm saying that it was kind of like prior to Sonic Underground coming in and warping the world. But basically, yeah, I mean, we got Sonic Jam, and it gave us, like Breakman said, it gave us extras in spades. We got the movie theater, we got the official art galleries, we got the music, to where we could just sit down and listen to the music.
Yeah, the jukebox was great.
The game shows off all the cheats for level select and debug mode and that sort of thing that people probably, little Easter egg type dealies that you could find hidden in Sonic World. There's the museum, which showed a timeline up until that point with all kinds of cool promotional pictures like Sonic bus tours and the Cherry Coke thing, and all kinds of nifty stuff. Dreams come true. You had all of this awesome hidden stuff and all of these Easter eggs and everything to find. And then, to top it all off, you had this 3D environment that you could explore as Sonic, which just felt like a really cool bonus. And that's why I would say Sonic Jam is, as far as I am concerned, my favorite entry into the Sonic series. Granted, Sonic Mega Collection has sort of all that and more. And granted, you can play the Sonic games on the Virtual Console and, obviously emulation. But truthfully, I would say Sonic Jam is still my favorite because it's just got a unique level of charm to it. I honestly would say that Sonic Jam is the last classic Sonic game that was made that was relevant to the series and still maintained the good old Sonic feel before we got the... Although, admittedly, impressive revamp, I still hold to classic Sonic as my favorite between classic and modern. So yeah, Sonic Jam for the Sega Saturn. If you can find it, you're going to pay a pretty penny for it, but it's worth it. It's a good game. I only wish you and I could have gotten to play more of it when you were here, Break.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
but hey, we got done most of the stuff we wanted to do.
Yeah, and we're saying that like we're never ever going to see each other again. I mean, I still have to come out to California and wreck your place for a weekend.
This is true.
And once I get a passport, then it'll be my turn.
Hey, that would be great. We could just, meet somewhere in North America and just mess some stuff up.
We'll call customs and let them know you're coming, Sten.
But
But
I-
I will say this, I think the Sonic Jam is still my favorite. I mean, it's
Yeah.
What?
We'll call customs and let them know you're coming, Sten.
No, I don't want to get strip searched. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I bet those chips will set off a metal detector.
Seriously.
Well, it all
Well, I don't know.
depends.
They didn't set off any metal detectors in the airport when I went through there.
How many did you have on your person?
All of them. Seriously, I'm not gonna let my freaking chip libraries fly around in some unsecured cargo hold in an airplane that could, like, go belly up. No, I kept those on me.
Too funny.
Granted, the backpack
Somebody
weighed like
stealing your backpack.
Dude, seriously, the
Somebody
backpack weighed like
steals-
50 pounds.
Somebody steals your backpack, they're rooting through this. What is this? What's up with all these memory cards?
Yeah, really.
What kind of idiot draws a different picture on every single SD card in his backpack? I bet these custom labels must have cost him a fortune in printer ink.
I feel so justified now.
Well, I would like to thank everybody for coming tonight and making this the, as far as quantity goes, the largest ELB ever.
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting one.
Yeah, it'll definitely be one for the record books. To you, MegaMatt, and to you, Sten, thank you both for coming and joining us tonight.
And to you.
And to you!
And
You're
to you.
You're very welcome. It's been a blast.
And a boot
Hey.
to the head.
Ow!
And one more
Ow.
for Stenny and the Matt. No, seriously, we would like to... Yeah, Flash, let's have these guys on again sometime. I think this was just a lot of fun. Let's do it again.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully we can hammer out the technical glitches that kept causing MegaMatt to be booted every 5 minutes from this.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Boot for the combo.
Yeah, really.
Well, thank you guys. I think this is a good spot to wrap up. And so that having been said, we really enjoyed having you tonight, and we hope you enjoyed listening to our favorite non-Rockman games. Feel free to leave us some comments and tell us about yours. This is Flashman EXE, signing out.
StenMan EXE, sign out.
MegaMatt.exe, plugging out.
And this is Breakman EXE. As usual, last to sign out, first to own your face.
Dun dun! It's Gutsman's ass!